it's kind of a journey, right? So we will try to take you there. So the today's session is more focused on, a very quick crash course on insight into DevOps, right? So basically, a few things I'm going to cover are kind of like give an introduction into software development. I know, right? Probably you guys know in and out of software development, and probably more than us as well, because you guys have very good course, and whatever you guys learning there, it's very important. Second one is something new. Probably some of you have heard something called ITIL. So that is about the information technology infrastructure library. So that's more of like, the next level of, next level of way of working, right? So that's, I will come to that. And then we'll talk about software maintenance, right? So when we say DevOps, I'm pretty sure like, you have some idea of dev, right? When you say dev, but what is ops, right? So that's mainly what we're going to cover. Second one is, so there are a lot of walls in like our projects, right? So so there, so basically we call it Chinese walls, someone called Mexico walls, but end of the day, whole idea is that there are a lot of silos, right? So we have different teams working parallelly on the same mission, right? So sometimes what happens is when we have different teams working on with the same objective, there will be a lot of duplication of effort, misunderstanding. So those are key, right? So that is again, that is what we call these walls. So we will try to cover that, and then we will do a quick introduction of DevOps, and one key thing of DevOps is automation. So the CI/CD pipelines. Okay, so moving on. So basically, the software development life cycle. So obviously, I think all of you know, right? So what I want you to like, what's something new, we want to tell you is that like, so software development is great, right? So it's software development is great. It's fulfilling a lot of business needs. So what is more greater is the business strategy, right? So I mean, we they are like softwares are, or technology is a enabler, right? It will enable you some great opportunities, but it's still like, someone will have to have a strategy or a business idea to use this, right? Example, if you think about Uber, right? Uber, or like Uber, right? Especially. So now uh, the Uber entire platform is driven on Google Maps, right? So it's entirely driven on Google Maps. So the vehicles are able to share their location, and then person who wants to take a ride is able to use that platform. So it's a like pure play technology enabled platform, right? But the technology, like, before Uber is there, we had Google Maps for a long time, right? People used to here and there use it, and like, but the value add came in. Someone thought that, okay, I have Uber, I have, sorry, what, I have Google Maps, and then we have people who's like able to, and maybe probably someone would have thought like, I want to open a, what do you call this, like a vehicle renting platform, something. And then they thought that, okay, if I want to enable a vehicle renting platform, if you want to buy vehicles, and that's a huge cost, right? So the investment is very high. Then that person would have thought, okay, how can I reduce my investment cost, the capital investment? Then they thought that, okay, what is my, where I'm going to invest on my capital? So basically it's about majority, right? 90% of the cost would have gone to the vehicles. So they thought that, okay, is there a way we can reduce this? And then maybe someone thought that, I'm just narrating, right? Someone thought that, okay, what if we use the existing vehicles? Like, maybe someone wants to like, do a part-time work here, or someone like put a vehicle and do that. So what if we kind of flip it, right? We are not going to own any vehicle, but we will crowdsource it, right? And then someone would have thought, okay, now that's a great idea, right? So we will crowdsource, but how are we going to connect these vehicles? So entire then the challenge is, how are we going to connect a vehicle, a driver who is happy to go on a ride with someone who is in need of a ride, right? So that the connecting the dots is the technology, right? So they thought, okay, right, we have now Google Maps, let's go and do that, right? So basically, The summary of this is, if you think things like more of a business problem, right? You are trying to solve a business problem, you will come, you will be more free to do innovation, right? So it's not a software like it's not pure play software, right? So so end of the day, software industry, IT industry, it's a nothing but we are trying to solve business problems, right? So the more you look at it from a business angle, more you think, how business going to benefit, and more end of the day, it's about profit and loss, right? So nobody's going to come and ask you to create software uh, unless that software is able to generate more revenue, right? And they make a profit of it, right? So basically the entire side of software development, the big picture is that it's again a business driven, right? So assuming that, now example, if you take this Uber case, right? So they had this vision and they came up with something like, the business idea. So what we would have done is they would have planned it, right? So they obviously, now some people will come and give the requirement. Some would have say, okay, let's do it in a mobile app, right? And I don't know, right, whether they had a like a web page first or mobile, but uh, they would have kind of like a for sure had lot of requirements, right? So then they would have get a kind of team to do kind of high level design, and then that design turn up to a solution. They would have done a very exhaustive level of testing as well. So then they would have deployed it, and then after that your maintenance cycle comes in, right? So the deployment, this is basically how we do any deployment, right? So example, it's very similar to someone says, I want to create a what you call e-commerce platform, right? Maybe to sell, connect people who has something, sell some goods to sell, and someone who's willing to buy, right? Again, it's your planning. We will do a planning, you will do a designing, we will do the development, deployment and testing and everything, and then we will deploy it, and then it has to go and into a maintenance cycle, right? So this is something you already know, right? So what probably and the way we doing these things has been changed rapidly, right? So basically maybe 10 15 years back, it's so basically when I started my career, it's mainly that we spend a lot of time to get the requirement upfront, right? So it's a probably we haven't got the all the 100% requirement at one go, but we still had a conversation with the client. Let's example, if this is Uber kind of thing, we would have had a client with them, and so what are you going to do? So give me your high level big picture requirements for and your entire the business need, right? And then obviously, right, we can't so even with the waterfall model, we will not go and implement everything at upfront, right? So basically what we will do is we will split into maybe 3 or 4 phases, maybe, and then we'll say phase one we will do this, phase two we will do this, and phase three, phase four, and then that's it, right? So that will cover your entire requirement, and then each phase will go through your the conception, initiation, we'll do the analysis, design, develop, testing, deployment, and then once it's done, we will move into the other, and there will be bugs from the phase one, so on, that we went through this journey, right? So basically, why this has failed is that still a phase is a lot of work. I mean, not I mean, the lot of work is the wrong word. It's a lot of requirements we are delivering to the client, right? So you have seen that probably there are maybe I missed to include that. So there are pictures where people say that this is what client want, right? So client want a bicycle. So our BA business analyst who is doing, and okay, so client want a bicycle. So the client service manager who is promising something to a client might think that I'll give them a rocket, right? So that's what we want, right? So our sales, we want to do really fast, like what do you call the really touching sales pitches, right? So then when it comes to our business analyst, like that person might think, okay, bicycle, is it it's a bike or bicycle, right? Probably we'll give a bicycle, right? And then like when it comes to articulating a design person, they might have still, okay, there are, okay, you need some two wheels, right? So two wheels. So probably there's a nice picture where finally it ended up what they have delivered is a tire hanging to a tree, and they can think that still you can do some riding, right? Something, right? So basically problem is and obviously if the client was not involved in doing these reviews and ensuring that what they are getting, they have seen what they are getting, so then they will obviously disappointed, right? Not only the client, but probably the everyone in this entire chain, right? From your salesperson to your the design people, the business analyst team, to your solution designers, to your the technical and the quality assurance team, to actually people who's going to implement it, to actual people who's going to deploy it, to say everyone will kind of like everyone will get disappointed, right? And everyone has a kind of like a uh, they all can point a finger to someone else. Okay, so this is what I got, right? And in kind of like leadership trainings and team building sessions, one thing they do to prove this is they create a queue, right? So they are example, if this is a like I think we have 50 people, 51 people, so probably we'll say you make a 51 people queue, right? Everyone eat behind, right? So someone will come and tell that uh, something, right? Maybe I'll say I want a bicycle, and we will tell them that uh, you know it's fine, right? You tell like but don't say it's a bicycle, but you tell it in a different word to your person next, right? So I have seen like in a video I think they have done in India, it's a totally different thing, the last person will hear, right? So when we start passing this requirement from person to person, things get changed, right? So that's why the world has moved into something called agile, where the whatever that initially I told you that we're going to do this in a 4-phase approach, we even will take a phase, and we will that phase also we will break into different small pieces, right? So whole idea is that we can identify get a small requirement, we plan, we design, we develop, and we do a testing, and we show it to client, and then we go through and build it on top of that, right? So if the like example, if it is a Uber, we will first is like just a map, right? You can select a location, and then location A to location B, probably the first is like it will give you the option, right? So from if someone said I want to go to place A to B, then the developers will use the Google Map to kind of like figure out what are the different paths, right? Maybe the traffic and paths, so very small thing, right? And then next iteration on this sprint, they will try to add like can I get the idea of like where the user is located, and then who are the closest drivers, like so they will start building it, so people knows that exactly what is building. So there's nothing secret about it, right? So everyone has a very transparent view of what we are delivering, right? So in the any industry, right, that is very true for like IT industry, is we have a golden rule, right? So one thing is that failures are fine, right? So we all fail, right? So there are like requirements we implement in a total different way. There are requirements we have missed. There are requirements we have misinterpreted. There are requirements that we thought to implement in a total different way. So the failures are part of our life, right? So we all make mistakes, right? So one thing challenge, or one thing we all are pushing ourselves is to fail fast, right? So if you want to fail, that is fine, right? But you fail fast, so that you have enough and more time to recover and do it, right? So whole idea of agile method is um, it's fine, right? Fail fast. So the customer asks something, your prototype is a total different thing, customer say okay, this is not what I want, and you fail fast. You don't waste too much time, you go back and improve it and come back and show you, is this what you want? Probably they will say no, I want few more data, and then you will go through another cycle, and cycle after cycle, until that you are happy. The customer says okay, this is exactly what I want, and then they will say okay, make sure that final product is very similar to this, right? So what agile is nothing but ensuring that we fail fast, and we always work on a very small requirement, and then so this is again a vast field, right? So people make careers out of agile, right? And so there are there are things like Scrum, and so there are. I don't think in your level you will have to go in and detail about but you will have to have a feel like it's about like the full some idea of this, and then maybe some idea of how agile team is done and all. But so that will give you kind of a good feeling, right? When you go to industry and when you start working in a project, so it's not something totally new, right? So something about, so you can narrate it, right? Any question, anyone up to now? Okay, so you are able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Also, can I take a second?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would like to remind all the participants that if you do have any questions, please participate. It's all right, you can ask anything. Always make sure to clarify if there are any problems and issues that you have with this presentation and with this lecture. And since all of us are at a basic level within this field,
Yeah.
we are more likely to actually fail when we are working on these projects during this program. So I think it's best if there are any questions, just simply raise hand or just put the question on the chat box. We are happy to help you. Yeah.
So that is very true, right? So I can narrate myself like when so first thing is again, that's why I told you that there's no right or wrong question or answer, right? And people are not going to judge you for the question you're going to ask as well, right? So basically, a person who asks question is more like usually at a better state than person who is not asking a question, right? So the idea is that people has to talk, and so that's very important thing, right? So and I also very conscious that probably I can go much faster, or I can think that the audience is little different. So feel free, right? So I'm trying to always trying to come back to be into your shoes and do this, but there can be a possibility that I might go out, right? So so that always stop, right? Ask the question, and questions are good, right? So that we get a kind of I get a view of what your point of view, and then obviously and 100% almost all the questions you ask, we don't have the answer, but probably if we can, we will sort it out, or we can come back. So the next topic we're going to cover is this ITIL. So anyone here has heard of ITIL, at least the word? Okay, so I take that this is something new for you. So ITIL is more, so this called the information infrastructure library. So it's a set of practices people are using. So now when we look at the software development life cycle, that circle and all, so it's a POP software, right? It's a software development, and then we have the either waterfall or agile methodology, that how we going to do that, right? But I very first time I want to tell you is that you know sometimes the business requirement is more important than what you're going to develop, right? So the key is the business, right? So it's about, so it's always business, right? It's all, so when you say business, what is the second part is you have to have there has to be a problem statement, right? So people are not starting a business if not there's a problem statement, right? So very like one very small problem statement and a very good solution I have seen recently is that so maybe 2 weeks back we went to this Lotus Tower, right? So Lotus Tower being built spending millions of dollars, and so the entrance per adult is 500 rupees, right? So we went upstairs, so it's like so we went there, and so this is like so my kid is very happy to go to Lotus Tower. So this is like kind of like our fourth or fifth time we went there. So then, we go inside, the lift is there. So we go to the 27th floor. So then we at the observation deck, and then we look at everything. And when she's tired, then we come down. So we come down to the probably the second floor. And from the second floor, you have this moving staircase. So we had to get to the moving staircase and come down. And the moment in come down, you like this is the first time we have seen. So we have seen a toy train, right? So it's a toy train, but uh, it's still in a one compartment, an adult and a kid can go, right? So there are around maybe 5 compartments, and there's a bell, right? It's kind of like like a really super cool train, and the bell is hanging. So everyone who is coming down from that staircase with a kid, right? Everyone wants to go take a ride, right? And the parents can't do anything, right? They will come and say, ah, Sudu Baba, Chuti Baba, you want to like there's nothing parent can do, right? Even if they want, like sometimes we have seen kids have already going into the compartment and asking, come, I want to, right? So then that per ticket is per person 250, right? Someone about 2 months is still they are charging 250, right? So one ride probably 2000, and it just goes through that circle of within the inside the building. And that's superb, right? That's a like so basically someone thought that, okay, there are a lot of people come to see Lotus Tower, and probably I don't know whether you agree with me, but still there are a lot of people come in. It's a and there are nothing for children, right? So there's a food area, but nothing. And someone thought, okay, there's a less opportunity cost, right? I just have to come and plant this train. I don't have to worry about doing marketing in Facebook, or sending emails or television or nothing. I just have to ensure I have someone when people come to see the place there. So that's a great solution, right? So basically I mean, anything in the business world we can map it, right? So it's more of like your the strategy, right? So I'm strategizing, right? Okay, I have this place, it is attracting a lot of people, and I have seen there's a need, nothing for kids, right? And or if I can give you something like, if I can give a service to these kids, then I can get them to I can make money, right? So making money is the important thing, right? So don't forget it, right? So our softwares we are developing has to make money, otherwise there's no point, right? So then like so then we strategize, right? Okay, let's have a toy train or something. And then so this is our strategy, right? So we put that strategy, then we go to design. Okay, okay, so how we going to do? Okay, so I mean, this person could have select to plant the train any place, right? Either outside the tower or inside the tower. So they make a conscious decision, we'll get it into the inside. Probably inside is much clean, easy to operate. Wear and tear in the train is very less. And more importantly, you can grab that customer that right moment, right? And that is the most important thing, right? So you had to grab someone when they are in a need, right? So example, if like if I'm hungry, if I see a kind of like a Uber Eats advertisement, probably I might think, okay, shall I order Uber Eats, right? So basically you have to grab customer when they are in a need for something, right? So their design is like so they would have gone through, and then they would have thought that, okay, where I'm going to buy, like it's 5 compartments, what is the color, and like high level something, where are we going? So it's all about your service design, right? You are designing your service, right? Even that small thing you have designed, right? There are a lot of variables at play, and so that you do. And then you go and transition, right? So transition is nothing but implementation, right? So probably implementation involved, I'm assuming going to Lotus Tower, going to their management, tell that I'm going to do this thing, I'm only going to take a small space of your side, and my this one will do a circle of within your first floor, right? And I will not disturb anyone, right? So we will ensure that we will adhere to all your, so they would have got the approval. Then the main problem is to find a train, right, with these all import restrictions, how they have done that, like probably they would have tap to local partners, so they somehow got something, right? And make it more interesting to kids, right? So you probably they would have they must be the probably parents, so they know what their kids like, and then they want to ensure that they address to both girls and boys in the same way. So you have to have a lot of pink and maybe blue and red as well, so vibrant colors. So they thought that, right? And then probably they thought that, okay, and and they will do a test ride, and with, I don't know, right, probably it's a electric one. So they would have guessed like maybe test something like what is how much the battery can last, right? And how quickly they can recharge the battery. And they would have gone and understand that Lotus Tower is open, I think, from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. But I don't think during the morning or afternoon, a lot of people are visiting unless they are outside, right? Some people come to Colombo, they complete their work and they have some time, so they take their kids to Lotus, right? So that's one group of their clients, right? Probably I'm not assuming that that's very high, but after 6 to 10 the night time, so usually they switch on lights sharp at 6, right? So so I think that time the crowd is very high. So they would have done their research to understand that Monday to so basically probably Monday to Thursday, not many people are coming, and Friday is a good day, right? So it's the weekend start, so quite few people are coming in. Saturday probably the peak, right? They must be getting a lot of people visiting, and then Sundays again kind of like very little high compared to the Monday to Thursday, but not that great. So probably they are third day, right? So probably they would have done this analysis, and then they implement this, right? So once they implement this, uh, it's not done, right? So it's about now operations, right? And so you have your you have done your strategy, you have come up with a design, you have done a transition, so you move your design into a workable solution, right? But then you have to operate, right? So they now have to, I mean, then this is a routine thing, right? So every day, like, someone has to come in the morning and then, operate this train. Someone has to be there near that staircase and, attract the kids, and, someone has to, do the giving the tickets, right? So people ask, right, why are you charging for 2 months year old kid? And I have to be ready with answers for everyone. Someone asks, is this safe? You are not putting the, that the buckle thing, right? And how fast this going. So it's about operations, right? And ensuring that it's not inconvenience to the people in that first floor, right? So that's the major thing, right? Like in our world, we are all I don't know, right? Sometimes we are very jealous of someone is figuring out something good, right? So maybe probably someone could have gone and said, no, it's a very inconvenience, it's a trouble. So they have to be very mindful of that, right? And then this train would have a lot of maintenance as well, right? So probably I don't know whether these trains have been developed to use for continuously being used that stress, right? So there wear and tear there. So then you have to, so whole idea is that if you want to make money, the operations is very important, right? So if you ask me that Indika, what is the important stage of this cycle, so I will tell you that every stage is very important. So I mean, you can have a great strategy, right? I mean, we all, right, we all come up with great strategies and great business ideas, right? But unless we have a great design and great transition and great operation, that will not make money, right? I mean, and that is the bitter truth, right? And assume that you have, there are some things they have not a so great strategies, not so great designs transition, but they have a great operations, right? So they have a like super operations team, right? I'll tell you one thing is like I have seen my experience. So there are like like just experience. So I have seen that example, if you call any electric AC repairs, right? And if you take AC repairs, they are kind of like the strategy or the design, like everything is sometimes very crap. And you have to call their call center 100 of times to get appointment. So the entire piece is mess, right? But the people who comes to your home to do that repair, it's a great, it's always a better team, right? But sometimes the challenge is, just because you do a good operation doesn't mean that if you don't have these other piece, you will fall apart, right? So so basically, if you want to make a successful business solution, everything is very important, right? On top of this, the what is the other most important thing is, now example, this the small the what do you call, the business, we have pick it up, right? This a train ride for kids, right? So now you might think, okay, wow, what a great idea, right? Someone is paying 500 to get inside to Lotus Tower, which is being built using millions of dollars, and then someone is charging 254, very small thing, right? And so so probably we all think like that. And then okay, that's a nice design, they would have had a little bit of good planning, and then implementation is fine, eye-catching, funky, it's good. Operation teams is very good, right? So as I said, like, the moment people come from the lift, the stairs, they are, people will come and say all those nice things to kids to get them into the train. So then you think that, okay, wow, this is a very, nice business idea. And I'm probably counting that, just like me, you would have thought that, okay, one probably ride take around 3 minutes. Every 5 minutes we can have a ride, 5 compartment, 500 people. Probably we can hit around 1,500 per ride. Per hour, maybe 10,000 or 15,000 per night. It's around 60, more than 60,000 to 1 lakh if you consider the entire day. Wow, what a solid business, Probably I'm pretty sure that, at least one of you would have thought, shall we do something like there and there, right? Maybe we do kind of something else, right? We go to the other floor and, do some new business. And so that's the other challenge, right? You come up with something fantastic new, and people copy that idea, right? Very easily people copy, right? So Uber came up with the I'm hoping that, the world first crowdsource riding platform. After Uber, every country has their own app, right? So we have Pick Me, and India, they have something else, right? Every country, like everyone. So and there's nothing, like, we don't have to get mad, right? So every good idea is as good as how quickly it's get copied by someone else, right? So people are copying, right? And the best part is, sometimes you can copy it in a more better way, right? So you copy that idea in the best way, so that you overtake that original idea, right? So that's I mean, that's what I mean, basically, right? So example, if I'm in campus and I have to do an assignment, and I get that okay, I get it from my friend. Most of the time, I'm not a guy who used to write the same thing, right? I would have done little better than that guy, and I tell that him, okay, see, there are areas here you can improve as well, right? So I mean, that is the reality, right? So people, and sometimes some people say, like, I know that, people say, I did the assignment, I gave it to someone else, that bugger got more marks than me, right? I don't know whether that's still happening or it's something, but I have seen, right, in nowadays, right? So usually, like, unless someone is very lazy, someone who is copying, they have everything, right? So example, that person who did the assignment at first time, they had to go through that requirement, study, researching, write it. They had to put a lot of effort, right? But someone with a little bit of brain use that assignment to create another version on top of that. They have more time to now think, right? Still, while they are lazy to do that, legwork, they can still think and add a little bit of value and do that. And so that's the advantage, right? So whole idea is that, so this business will get challenged, right? So that is why we have something called the service improvement, right? So if you see, as much as your strategy design, the transition and operations are important, continuously you have to improve, right? So they will so basically, I'll tell you my mindset, right? So when I thought that, entire that night, I was thinking, okay, that's wow, I couldn't get it out from my mind, right? Now I probably sure you guess as it. So that's a very nice, it's a routine job, right? Routine way to earn money, right? A routine way to earn money, nice business idea. Wow, it's go with kids. Okay, then I was thinking, okay, what else can we do, right? So like, so okay, it has to be something technology, right? Obviously I thought. So then I thought like, okay, shall you do a virtual reality, like virtual reality is the best thing, right? Okay, probably okay. Can you do a VR roller coaster? Right, so I have seen these VR roller coasters where you put, and then you like you go through very different challenging routes, and so that's a funky idea. I just texted it to one of my friend, and he immediately forwarded me and said it's already done in I think Marina Bay, some shopping mall, or someone is doing it in one goal face. So the ideas are already right, and some, I think the place they have the VR thing in Marina Bay is it's a top notch, right? It has all the features, right? So someone would have thought this before that. We don't know that person who is doing in Lotus Tower got the idea from whom even, right? Probably it's not their first idea now. They are not the originators, right? So whole idea is that it's very competitive, right? So um, now these guys will obviously have to improve it, right? Maybe add more. Now they have the customer base, they can add more variations, right? Some people I have seen, they are a little lazy to going into train, and but if you show them a car, nice car, probably they will drive, right? But then the question is, are you able to allow a kid to ride a car in that premises, right? Then there will be a little bit of constraint challenges, but whole idea is that unless they do a continuous improvement, it's always a challenge, right? So the highlight, where I'm going to end this slide is, you remember, right? I don't know whether you remember, you have you guys used Nokia phone? Anyone of you? Anyone use Nokia phone?
Like the earlier version.
Earlier version or new version? Any Nokia phones?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so probably I don't think that you have used earlier version. Um, so whole idea is that at that time when Nokia was marketing, and they are doing they are they are promoting their brands, they were the biggest mobile phone provider in the world. They are the biggest, right? And there was no competition, right? They were working in a open road, right? No, everyone used to have Nokia phone. By far the best the phone to use, very reliable, like and even if you fall down, the chances of it will not break is high, right? And and they have a very good price range, right? Even anyone can, I mean, not anyone, but still, like people were able to afford it, right? So they were very good at it. And so the one thing they have missed is they didn't thought of reinventing, right? They thought, okay, this is a very safe business. Everything is good, revenue is good, customers are good, we don't have a competition, we have monopoly, everything is good, until that Samsung and Apple came in, they reinvent this the smartphones. And the worst thing is, I mean, nowadays, now if someone asks you, I think uh, the, the Apple is a $1 trillion company, right? Even more than 1 trillion, right? The Apple phone is been the most used phone, one of the most used phone, right? And if you think of it, at that time when Apple came to the industry of a mobile phone industry, they were not even I mean, they were computer company, right? So they were creating the computers, right? Not phones. And they never had any experience in creating mobile phones, right? They never had they never had the people, or the experience, or the lot of things, right? So but still Apple was able to take the market and kill Nokia, right? Why? Because they didn't adapt to that industry, like the needs of the customer, right? And Samsung came in, and then everyone came in, and then they start innovating. So it's the keyword is innovation, new ideas, and then they lost their market share, right? So that the most important other thing is continuous improvement, right? I hope you understand. So if there's any question, feel free to ask. So now if we go back, so we have this software development, so we have this agile. So now I have kind of like very high level touch about how we look at things. So what this means is there will be always a lot of work for us, right? Software developers, the operations people, maintenance people, the BAs, the delivery people, project managers, and because a business can't survive, right? Now, example, let's think, right? Uber. So Uber is just a, we thought that it's just a, riding, right? Now we have Uber Eats, right? We have Pick Me Eats, right? And then we have Pick Me Flash, right? We have kind of like, yeah, so they are like, even some time back before COVID, I could even bring a gas cylinder using Uber Pick Me Up, right? So they are expanding. They are expanding, adding more customers, adding addressing more business needs, right? So what this is mean is there's a lot of work for their development team, right? Their development team, operations team. So there's always work, right? So one thing we have to understand is these are all more of a business driven, right? Okay. So I assume that you have at least you have some understanding of what is development, and you kind of you can feel it, right? You are all developers, right? I don't think here anyone is kind of like um, um, someone else, right? So probably all 50 of you are developers in my mind, right? So one thing I want to tell you is, okay, let's take this Uber example, right? So let's take Uber, right? So let's say we have Uber. So some, okay, we have a development team. They have deployed this Uber. People are using. So what else, right? So one thing is there's networking and infrastructure, right? So you have the Uber app. It has to be deployed into some place, right? And it has to hosted in the infrastructure, right? People has to use. Then only people can use it, right? So then one thing is, they have something called different levels of maintenance, right? So level one, we say that, the call centers, right? Example, assume, just think that, you take a Uber ride, and you put your credit card as the, payment mode. And suddenly you realize that, after the ride, it was, you were supposed to charge 250, but you have got charged around 500, right? So then you will at that time, you will try to I can't remember exactly, but either you have the option of calling the Uber, Uber, their call center. You tell them, that agent, that I have issue this that, or you can put a message through the app itself as well. It will be picked by someone from level one, right? So level one maintenance is, it's mainly to ensure that customers are handled, right? So those are the example, so in my the case, the what do you call that, the case study I'm talking, the calls, the person who's answering your phone and getting you that problem, right? Okay, you are supposed to charge 250, but we have charged you 500. Other people who they are not necessarily a technical team, but they are excellent at communication, right? So basically it's more of a very the communication call center driven, right? So this can be, so what this team will do is, this team will actually try to get that question, and then they will do validation, right? So example, if this is a bank, right? So I'm using bank, I lost my debit card or credit card. What I'll do, I'll call the call center, I'll tell them, and then they will ask me, so what they usually do, they will go through a script, right? So example, if I call bank, any bank, right? And if I call any bank in Sri Lanka or maybe outside, first thing they will ask is, what is your name, right? Okay, so what is your account number, right? If I can't remember account number, give me your national identity card number or the passport ID, right? Okay, then they will say, okay, based on that, okay, am I talking to Mr. Mrs. this, right? Okay, then they will say, okay, I want to validate you, right? I'll ask you a couple of questions, right? And they will ask something about your mother's name or some date of birth or something. Yeah, they are trying to ensure that the person they are talking is real you, right? The real person, mistakes, right? So then they will ask that question, right? Okay, you lost your credit card, or someone say, I don't know, someone has used my, I have seen a transaction, so my the money someone has sent to is not came to my account, right? So they, based on some script, they will try to resolve it. If not, they will send it to a more of a level 2 maintenance team, right? So level 2 maintenance team is more of like, the people who are more technical, so they are have a more responsibility of managing that the system, right? So it can be that Uber app or the banking app or anything, right? So they are responsible for the availability of the application, ensure that application is available, it's reliable. So that means the people, the purpose of people using this application is met 100%, right? It's not that someone is entering 100 in the app and then in backend it goes to 1,000 or 250, right? So reliability is that you order a book, they will not deliver you a pen, right? So it has to be, the systems has to be reliable, and otherwise you will not use this system, right? So their job is to just to ensure that they maintain this everything, and probably they would have realized that okay, this has happened because it's a code bug, right? So as I said, mistakes happen, failures happen, we try our best to minimize it. But then if it is a code bug, then it will go to a level 3 maintenance team. So this team will more focus on kind of doing that code level fixes and minor enhancements and those things. So and then if there's a failure, right, it's something this beyond their example, maybe someone has forget about a complete functionality, right? And complete functionality, and then it might come to development team, say it's a UI bug, or maybe someone say it's a requirement issue. Someone has said requirement is like that, limited to 3 digits, but now real users are entering with 5 digits, so it's failing, right? So it has to be, so we will it has to be a more of a system wide change, right? So in order to maintain a particular software, all of these teams are required, right? So the and what I want to tell you is that this is as important as developing something, right? So you can develop a lot of things, but unless it's been maintained properly, people are not going to use it. So if they are not going to use it, the business is not going to make money, right? So idea of the IT, the technology is not to create the fancy thing just because we feel like doing it, right? So one classic example is, so when I was in third year, so I remember that we had to do a group project. So I we did it with my roommate, right? So basically at that time, if I'm not mistaken, it's something about a patient medical history system, right? It's a probably, I don't know, like probably now it's a very everyone do that, so you don't even do those things. It's a patient history history creation system. So so and we both want to do it, right? So it's kind of like a combined idea, and then maybe I thought that, and again, so everything was driven by we want to find job after we get out. So then I thought, okay, at that time we have Java Swing, and I'll use Java Swing, I'll create a app. And then he said like, okay, I'll do it in a more of a web app, the web application perspective. So we want to create it. So then we put it in such a way that okay, we will go and deploy the standalone the Java Swing application into the where the doctors are there, and maybe we have a centralized solution with the web app. So we came up with some story, right? I remember that when we did the presentation, it was good. It was fine. The question we got stuck is when that panel asked us, um, so why you have two technologies? And you have Java Swing, and then you have put some effort on web application, and just to validate that things are working fine. I remember that someone on the that panel, they ask us to enter something from the web application and then just open it up and show it in the UI application, right? Standalone application, just to think that things are working fine, and we have done everything, right? It goes to the same database, same table, so the synchronization is perfect, right? But then the answer is that okay, we will go and deploy this into this, and this is that, and that was not a good answer, right? We couldn't justify. Their answer is, okay, you can have internet, and if internet is there, so why you want a standalone application, right? So it's a overkill, right? And just because you want both of you guys to get involved and do something, you would have done it great, but that's not answering your business need, right? So that's exactly the same thing that it will happen in our real world, right? And when you are going to industry, when we start doing things, just because we feel like adding new technologies, just feel like we want to do something different, we will try to do things, but it has to have the cost is very important, right? The cost is very important, and it has to have a value to business, right? So whole idea is the money, right? So it's about, can we make money out of this system? If we can't, then it's a failure, right? So whole like, so then you will understand keeping the systems up and running, maintenance is very important, right? And if you look at a system like Netflix, right? So example, if you are using Netflix, so it's a streaming platform, right? So you can, so Netflix came up with their movies, there are on their TV series, their documentation. So their content is very good. Their content is not pirately available, so that a lot of people going and use Netflix, right? And the, so if you look at, if you go to that, this our initial the ITIL, the so it's a good strategy, right? So they have seen that it be yours to whatever are not doing their job, and we have a good opportunity to give more relevant content to the people, right? They come up with a good design, and they come up with a good transition. You move your design to a workable product, right? And then they, I mean, if you look at Netflix, their operations are one of the best operations in the world, right? So it's a fully into cloud, deployed in cloud. They have so much, they have so much, they have so much kind of like technological advancements. So the operations have been kind of like co-pioneered by them as well, right? So those are kind of so they put so much focus on the operations, right? So they are ensuring that the people who are streaming, and there are so many things to fail from their perspective, right? So example, if millions of people in accessing their services, obviously things can get slowed down, right? Or they can crash their infrastructure, right? It's potential to can have a lot of security violations, right? And it's a, another thing is that it's a you know uh, you can get there are a lot of cyber things, right? So when I was at when I was a student, I was thinking, I was not that conscious. It didn't feel me that the cyber security, DDoS attack, or someone is trying to get into your website and do funky things and those things, unless you create something and you host it, right? You work with a client where there's an online presence, right? And then you realize that some unknown part of the world, people with a computer will try to crash your site, and you ask the question, why, right? So the security, those things are real threats, right? So for from a Netflix perspective, so that is a, I don't know, right? That's must be one of the biggest challenge, right? So that's one example, right? Second example is, let's take Google, right? So we all are using Google, right? So we have Gmail, we have YouTube, we have Google Drive, some way, and there are so many services. Some way or other, we are, our life is evolved around Google, right? So can you remember a time where Google went down? I can't. I usually, I don't know, last 25 years where I have used Google. So every time I access Google, it's up and running. I have not seen issue where, unless my internet connection is slow, because of that it took time to load. Otherwise, Google was perfect. I have not seen a glitch. I don't know, maybe there can be glitch and now I'm forgotten, but the service is very reliable, right? There was no time for me to no reason for me to contact Google support, unless a few years back when I start using some Google paid services and all, and then there are but otherwise Google free tier you know is very smooth, right? So what you have to understand is, with that smoothness, they are so much into their maintenance, right? They are doing this perfectly, right? And this is not only people, right? So it's not only people, but it's about operations. It's about, designing your infrastructures, it's about, doing the code, right? So like you guys have heard of microservices, right? Anyone? You heard microservices, right?
Yes,
Okay. So why people are using microservices?
because it's easier to scale. I think that's one of the main things.
Perfectly, right? So so basically what people thought is that, okay, we have a monolith application which is big and bulky. So if I split that application into 10 parts, that, then it's easier for me, right? So like, the maintenance is very easy, right? So there are only small part, and small parts I can go and host it into kind of like host it in different infrastructures, so I can scale, right? So it's a very good scaling model, troubleshooting model, maintenance is easy. So then world has moved from monolith to microservices, right? And probably, in this series we are also going to touch upon microservice, like, so DevOps is part and parcel of microservices as well. But the reality is, couple of weeks back, maybe 1 month back, Amazon. So there's Amazon, just like Netflix, Amazon has something called Amazon Play or something, right? It's again a streaming platform. So one of the, not the entire thing, one of their core modules, which was developed using microservices, you won't believe they have moved into monolith, right? So that microservice module, uh, so the microservice modules, they, after, so much effort and research and everything, they realized that maintaining microservice for that particular context, it's expensive, time consuming, and not easily scalable compared to moving to monolith. And you will be shocked, right? I got shocked when I saw that first, right? That I saw that news. I'll send you a link as well. Even I wrote something about. So that's a classic use case, right? Like, one of the big like, users and advocate of microservices, moving from microservice to monolith, right? So whole idea is that, and if you get a new requirement, we are not going to start it from our, right? Okay, we are going to use DevOps, we are going to use the microservices, and this is, we are going to AWS cloud, and you try to put all the funky things just because you want to learn, and you thought that client will be happy, and you thought that it's the reliable thing, and you thought that it will give you more scalability. No, right? So it's again depend on the circumstances. What are you going to do? How are you going to use it? So that we'll have to be very careful, right? So we should not use the technology sake of using it, right? It should have a business benefit, right? So that's again the again, if we come back, the maintenance is a key important thing, right? Because that will break your entire operations, right? And like, over the years I have seen them, sometimes we call that, okay, developers, we are the great, and we create these products and those things, and the operations teams are saying, no, 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 we are the great, we are maintaining this, we are living with your crap, right? And it's a constant and debate about who is best, like who is adding more value to the business, right? Is business needs the developers or the operations people? I know it's a, I mean, and the typical mindset is, okay, developers are a little better than operations, right? I mean, that is the, usually the honest way how people are thinking, right? But when it comes to a business, like, for them both are important, right? It's a chicken egg situation, right? I mean, you can't get the chicken without the breaking the egg. Then you can ask, like, how come the first egg chicken came? We don't know, right? And it's a, like, but I mean, the operations can't live without developers, right? End of the day, developers can't live without operations, right? So it's go hand on hand, right? And people can debate, right, who is better, who's is smarter, who is more technical and all, but they are all doing kind of a very equivalent, equally similar job, right? Just that I understand that, you understand the value of developers. I'm putting a little bit of extra focus to give you the understanding that operations are important, right? So assume that your favorite bank, right? You have a favorite bank, and suddenly you go someone someone you are running out of money. You call someone, can you transfer some money? When that person go to online and the bank mobile bank application online application is down, you will get pissed off, right? App is down the moment I want, right? And some of the businesses we have worked with, what they are saying is, especially in like North America, Europe, and everywhere. Example, if someone wants to buy something, they will go and order it, and if that order journey take around 1 minute, and within that 1 minute, if they encounter any issue, right, a slightest glitch, something they are not very clear, they think that this journey is little inconvenience, they will drop that and go and buy it from someone else, right? So customer experience is a key thing, right? So people lose money, and people lose money, and people lose like the businesses lose money, they lose customers, they lose their brand name, you know just like that, right? And if you think that having money, having more access to technology, more access to the skills that will help you to kind of avoid this, you are also in a like created world, right? So like very recently Facebook had a outage, right? I can't remember the exact date, whether this year or last year, but they had a major outage, right? So their outage was identified to some network changes and some things they have done, right? So you have to understand, Facebook being a billion-dollar company with so much access to technology, so much access to so many things, like and they came up, they had issues, then you know, that's a that's something anyone can experience issues, right? And even Twitter, right? After Elon Musk has taken it up from Jack, they have there are a lot of issues, right? They have not only the technology issues. After that takeover, I saw some newspaper, like news article, where the guy who locked their offices has gone with the keys, and like they have like move him out, and they have to call him and get him, right? So there are a lot of important services that were down, like the slow the performance, right? So there are lot of issues, right? And even the so again, the maintenance is very important, right? So that's high level. So then key things, so we will cover this, right? So this in like future, not we will not go back to this level of detail, but very high level. What you want to tell you is L1 is more of a call center, people who are directly extracting interacting with customers and all. And then L2 is more of your maintenance team, right? So this, they have a lot of work, right? So so when some issue, example Netflix, right? Someone says, my streaming account is not working, like if the L1 is not able to handle, they will pass it to L2, right? So they will take it as incident, right? Incident is something that something supposed to work is not working now, right? So then it can be either code bug, it can be an infrastructure issue, it can be a configuration change. So people has to investigate and fix it, right? Then there can be a service request. Someone says, okay, I'm from Sri Lanka, I'm using a Netflix account. Now next week I'm moving to Singapore. Can you do this change, right? Maybe, I don't know, there can be some change where so it's not, something is not working, but but there has to be some new service they have to give, right? And then problem management, right? So whole idea is that, as I said, things any system we have built, it's prone to failure. Anything, right? Any system within under sun and moon, or sun and earth, or wherever, it will fail. And that's a fact, right? You develop any system, there will be always a bug, and there's always one fine day you will hit something and it will fail, right? So the whole idea is that uh, we have to have processes to ensure when that happens, we understand why it failed, we understand the kind of like the reason for failure, we fix it. So the fix is sometimes a two part, right? So we can actually do a temporary fix, right? Example, someone says my like example, my so assume that someone says my Netflix account, I'm not able to log in, right? Probably we can ask them and go and tell them that, you change your password, or maybe this is the forget password journey, something, right? Probably it's not that, someone in our side has gone and screwed up and we gone and update some password or something. Probably at that time we'll have to give a data fix. Probably sometimes it can be a case where this person is using someone else's account, right? So if you know Netflix, they are very aggressive of keeping their account to only 5 members, and they are aggressively uh, trying to stop people sharing password, right? So then maybe they are not able to use that because they have given to many people, and now the system is keeping off track, right? And so it can be any reason, right? So example, I have seen that, if I'm using VPN and I do a transaction from online bank, usually it doesn't come, right? I get a call and say, you initiate something from USA or something, are you expecting some? So maybe still, right, they are doing a lot of precautions to ensure things are happening within a particular region, right? So whole idea is that you have to identify that problem, then you have to fix it, that it can be a temporary solution, it can be a permanent solution. Next is ensuring that that particular issue will not reoccur again, right? So people are fine, like, businesses are fine, whatever systems we have developed encounter issues, right? Not that fine, but they can still live with, but they don't want the same issue again and again, right? So they want to, we have to ensure that that is permanently uh, stop, right? So that we call something called problem management. Whole idea is that uh, you know we have to ensure that the issues are managed properly. So then something called change management, right? So change management is nothing but, in like example, Netflix or Uber or any complex system you have thought, now you want to deploy some new change, right? It will go through like multiple of approvals, right? Because the golden rule is, if something is working, don't touch it, right? So people, like, so if I mean, I don't know, right? Probably, my mother used to also tell me, if something is, maybe our TV is working and I try to, do funky things to, and so like, don't touch it, you will break it, and then you will go, and then will not able to watch even this, right? So don't, if something is not don't touch it, right? So more or less, like, if my fan is working and I just want to, okay, be little smart, I will, I like take the parts out and do cleaning. My words say, no, just leave it as it is, you clean it, that's good thought, but don't touch, go, you will break it, right? So so basically that's true for our software. Even, high powerful softwares, it's the same thing. If something is working, don't touch it. So that's why if you want to touch it, you will have a lot of process to ensure that, you have gone through major quality gates, right? Whole idea is that if something is working, then the chances that how it will get break it, either infrastructure, so like, because our infrastructure, hardware and network, there can be failures. Otherwise it's a human inject failure, that we will introduce a bug, part of our kind of like uh, part of our the new delivery, right? So again, change management. So then event management, so basically after some time, after some time, people has, so this setup, right? This setup, right? Entire this group of people has realized that, hey, right, we are waiting for people to come and complain us, saying system is not working. Someone says, I'm not able to make a ride using Uber. Someone says my Uber payment is wrong. Someone is saying my Uber app is slow. Someone is saying my Netflix account, I'm not able to log in. Someone is saying my Netflix is slow. Someone is saying, even though I registered for these shows, but I'm not able to watch it. Someone says, and so, so we are all dependent on people to come and complain us, right? And we call this more for reactive, like, we wait for someone to complain, and once that someone is complain, we take action. And then, with this competitor world, and with, customers have a lot of options, the organization has realized that that's a bad way to operate, right? You should not wait until someone complain. So they are after that, so they came up with a lot of tools, right? So example, in this course, we are going to cover things like, Prometheus, Grafana, ELK, and those are more of like monitoring, observability enabled tools. So why it is required is we want to ensure that we identify failures before someone report us and fix it, right? So end of the day, end of the day, a system is down, is business is losing money, right? So basically, whole idea is even systems will not crash, right? So so example, if we have seen 1,000 issues in a particular system, heart attack and dying is maybe around five, like, very small percentage, like 1%, 2%, like, it's like, you always has to have a panic something, and systems will not die just like that, right? It will take time, it is just like our body, right? It will have sugar, it will have diabetic, and then it will over a period of time. I'm not saying that this will go years and years, but it's just like, if my system is going to crash, probably I would have seen the systems at midnight, right? And midnight I have seen that the CPUs are high, memory is high, like maybe 1% of user requests are failing. I have seen there are bottlenecks building up in different layers, right? And then all connecting up, and then it is going and hammering in one of my layer, right? And it is having a bad impact on my database. That is again, so basically those are small issues, right? So and if you have not addressed, and if you have let it until morning, someone calls and say, hey, your application is slow, I can't log in. That's a the that's something we have missed, right? So that's why people have gone into this event management. So event management is the area where we are using a lot of monitoring tools and so many things, just to ensure we proactively identify things and then fixing it. So there are different ways, different technologies, different ways of doing it, but whole idea is that today's businesses are mindful, right? So they will be mindful of ensuring that they get a complaint first. Before someone complain, they know the issue and then they will fix it, right? So as you take example of the train ride in Lotus Tower, right? So if that person knows that my battery is going to die out in every 2 hours, so what they will do is once in a while, within that 2 hour window, they will try to the few minutes where they are waiting for the people to get inside, they will do a charging, right? So why? Because if my battery goes down and it take me half an hour to charge, then what will happen? I take my own time, my battery goes on and it died down. So I'll have to stop my train for 30 minutes. During that 30 minutes, nobody's going to able to use it. People will come down, people will ask, can you go train ride? And people, no, it's I have to charge. People will get disappointed. And the Lotus Tower is not a place where everyone will come daily, right? So it's a occasional driven. So and then people will get disappointed when that person goes and says that train is always down. So it will create little bit of and if something is not working, people will have a issue, right? Example, the next time you are in and you want the kid is asking, let me go into maybe mother would say, no, last time that train was down, I don't know whether how secure, right? Probably what if it goes, it's stopped like in the middle or something. Maybe I'm not comfortable, right? So those gives small bad vibes, right? So that is the thing that we're going to prevent, right? That will result in losing money, right? So this is all about business, right? Then we have something called capacity, right? Capacity is, right? So basically, I told you this train is 5 compartment, but if they get around 100 people at once, they can run, right? So they obviously, right, there will be people either have to wait for queues or they have to expand their compartment. So that is about capacity management, right? So you never know when people will start hammering and scaling up your business. So one classic case I can remember is, so around 2008 or 2000, I don't know, 2008 7 or 2008, I was very fresh, so it's a time where I came out, and then WebLogic was one of our go-to application servers. So we had the WebLogic, and all the enterprise applications was running on top of WebLogic. It's have a cluster. And so like when I was interacting with some of we had a training from Oracle. So it's Oracle WebLogic at that time. And this trainer has worked in India. And so basically what they mentioned is that when the first time they have launched IPL, so they have given this contract to the rights to someone else. I can't remember the media company, but everything was driven through an application hosted in WebLogic. So at moment where they start promoting, and they got so many hits, and it was very difficult for them to scale. Luckily they have reserve capacity, they have plan, but assume that they thought that they will get 10x customers, they would have got 50x, right? So the scaling has to done very quickly, because they are losing money, right? So if they have not acquired those customers promptly, they will little tired, and this is the first time there's something happening. So the capacity is very important, right? So those has to be scale, auto scaling, and you'll have to have better way of, and assume that if you are hosted in a legacy data center, right, with machines, right? So if someone comes and say, your business is growing, you need to double this data center. Purchasing machines and building, and it will take a lot of time, right? You will never able to meet the demand. But if you are in cloud, and then you can auto scale, right? AWS, Azure, Google, with a button, click of button, you can add host, you can add memory, you can add CPU, you can add storage, you can do wonders, right? So that's the real world, right? Uh, so those are the key things, right? So the release, so these couple of things not that important at this moment, but what you have to understand is it's about business, right? It's not only that you have done a great development, but it has to maintain properly, right? Um, so and usually a lot of unexpected things happen, right? So I can remember long time back, so we were managing one of the enterprise application, and we are doing we and the application was we are our the client's marketing team was planning something, right? They were planning some advertisement, and during that time we were supposed to get huge amount of traffic, right? So at that time we split our application into a little bit of microservices and deployed into different pieces, and we increased the capacity. So we had the discussion with this business, the marketing team, and understand that how much this can go, right? What is that spike, right? What percentage of spike we can expect. So we were all ready, and this particular advertisement was supposed to go during one of a musical award ceremony, right? During that time there was a couple of minutes break and advertisement. So there'll be so much eyeballs from North America and around the world. People are watching, because there are a lot of musicians and directors, so many things. So this it will generate so much traffic, right? And we were ready, right? We were 100% ready. Advertisement went, and as expected, we have seen that the application, we got a lot of traffic, and but suddenly in our dashboards we have seen, we were all ready for, we thought that so this is again it's something that if you are customer, client of this, the customer of this customer, you can log in and you can obtain some coupon. With that you can go and purchase something, or you can getting into another concert or something like that, right? So we were expecting a lot of traffic to our application journeys and all those things, but suddenly we realized there are a lot of requests going to our forget password journey, right? So many people has forget their password, now they are using forget password journey, and this journey we have hosted in a different place, and we never thought that we will attract a lot of traffic, right? So there are so many unknown things can happen in operations, right? So if we don't scale properly, if we don't scale quickly, then the business are losing opportunities and they are losing money, right? So what okay, so we will finish this in 15 to 20 minutes. So what this literally means is there's a lot of confusions, right? So the business wants something, your customer experience guy thinks something, a developer is thinking something, quality engineering is thinking something, and operations guys are thinking something. There are a lot of walls they have own built inside, right? So there are no synergy, even we have synergies that, so at that the example I have mentioned, nobody told that, we can, and nobody thought that, we can get spike with a lot of forget password journeys, right? And so there can be, and we have been in situations where our marketing teams think that, the traffic can spike to maybe 35-45% during a certain time, but then it goes around maybe multiple times of that, right? And you can't complain, you can't go and say, you said 30%, now we are getting 80%. I say that's good, right? This is your job. My job is fine, right? I'm attracting more people. You guys manage it, right? So there are, and that they don't think that, operations has to be aware that, and it's a hard job, right? So unless, I'm little bit of accurate in my projections, they will have a hard time, right? So basically, like everyone has to, so this will not again come in. We all thought that, so we are working for one solution, right? We are giving a one solution to our business, right? We are giving a one solution to our end users. So I don't know, like, this is like a where I heard or something I have all seen and remember usually is a person who like cleans NASA. If someone asks you what are you doing, they will not say that, I'm cleaning, and they will say my goal is to send a man to moon or Mars, or my goal is to get a rocket out, right? So they are all, so everything is connected, right? So they are, unless all of these people think that, my goal is to ensure that end of the day my client make money, otherwise we'll have problem, right? So that's the summary, right? So that's one way to look at this. Sorry. Second one is, um, even in our environments, we have a lot of environments, right? So example, like, you get a requirement. So usually what happens, we get a requirement, we understand how we going to, it's Java or .NET or Node.js or React or no code or low, whatever, how we going to do that. Then we will have a version control system, then we will try to have a, like, once we do the coding, we will try to ensure that it's built and packages, and then we put it into, so this package is working my machine, right? So usually when when someone says something is not working in production, developers always say it's working in my laptop. It's low, so they say no, it's working. And then where it's working? No, it's in my machine, my local instance is work perfectly fine, right? So then people are, so shall I ask my customer to, start using your local instance, right? So no, right? So basically, then what happens is that, local testing is fine, but then you will have to deploy that into a particular test environment, and then it has to go through proper test cycle, right? And then this test environment can be lot of test environment, right? So this areas where we are working, so we have kind of like a developer test environment, and then we have a QA test environment, and then there are sometimes we have called end-to-end test environment, because our applications are not like small applications, right? There are a lot of end-to-end dependencies to a lot of other applications, so those integration has to be tested in another like, with all integrated environment, so we call this end-to-end environment. So there are a lot of test environments we are deploying our code. Then after that, we are not putting into production first, right? So we want to have a production identical copy, we call it staging, so that, we put it to stage and just check whether how things, then only we put it in production, right? So there are, sometimes some projects, there are around 5 to 10 environments people have to project teams have to maintain, right? So the challenge is the code you have deployed to your your developer environment, code you are in your test environment, code it in your staging environment, code in your production is, I don't say it's identical, but there can be a lot of issues, right? So you will, obviously version control issues will be there, some like, in my time, if I do a code, and if I do a code, if I implement some functionality, you know first thing when it goes to live is I will log in, I will just check whether my functionality is working fine. And there was a time where I was kind of doing some operations work. I'm like, and when the roles are switching, so if I deploy something, first thing I'll do is I'll open my application system and check whether that new thing we have given, even a dot or a ball there, because I'm worried that, have I deployed the right code, right? And I mean, those are the basics things, right? But there are so many unknowns, right? There's some functionalities which was supposed to go on, switch off, but now goes to switch off, switch switch on mode, right? There are some functionalities, there is some requirements we thought are now going in a different way, right? So example, I remember first time we have created a system for Europe, and when someone has to enter a name, we have the usual categories, right? Either you are Mr., Mrs., or those things, right? So we got a major complaint, right? Someone is not able to register, and why? And so then we realized that that person is someone who got knighted from Queen. So they are using I'm a sir, right? So the sir was not part of our requirement, so it was not part of our drop down, right? So those can be even a small thing, but it's still a major thing, right? And this person will not will go and speak to the CEO and make a complaint, right? And again, that will make headline news, right? So those are very minor things, but I'm saying this is again create a lot of so many complexities. Who's going to maintain? We have so much issues, right? So I don't know. There's a LinkedIn video these days going in where someone is driving the car and they are going and hitting someone, right? Your buffer get is the smash. Then the people start running, coming out from the vehicle and running. So they call these are the bugs, right? Bugs are running out, and then some people come and they get inside and they try to fix it. They introduce new bug, right? So example, the yesterday I had a bug, something is not working, we going and fix it, we introduce a total new bug, and on in order to fix that, we fix that total new bug, and then we because of code merging or something, we have open up another previous bug. And so many failures, right? So this is like so, it's not chaos, but it's again chaos, right? Because even though we have the processors, we have technology and all, when the systems are large enough, when the things are more complicated, so we are bound to hit issues, right? So this is again the wall of environments, right? So then the challenge is, so basically people, example, DevOps is like you are dev and operations, right? So they have used to build a wall, right? So if you are developer, what is your mindset? Your mindset is, I want to do development, right? I want to develop, and we can justify that, business we are in a modern day where business has to evolve, right? They don't want to be a Nokia, right? So they are looking at innovation, technology, and advancements, and new stories. So they are keep on adding change, right? So this is like example that a train in the Lotus Tower, they have seen the demand. Right, okay. We started with 5 compartment. Okay, we see that a lot of young, like little girls like to travel. So let's have a Cinderella compartment, so something, right? So then we can attract a lot of kids. So they had 2 more compartments. Then they realized that okay, maybe Thomas Train. The boys like Thomas Train, Red, and we'll add a couple of more compartments, right? And so it's growing. So, but what if are they conscious that the driver, what is the comfortable number of compartments they can drive, right? So this is a so when the head goes, the tail has to go, right? So will tail go here and there and hit other places, right? So the while things are growing, you have to be mindful that can the driver can manage this train, right? Have you ever wondered that just because the the railway is there, train can't have a n number of compartments, right? So probably, Ruhunu Kumari or Udarata Manike, anything, they will have, I don't know, right, 10 to 15 compartments or 20 max. But, just because, the physics allows that you will not have 100 compartments, you will not have 200 compartments, right? Because driver can be able to manage even with the horsepower we give. It's difficult, right? It will have challenges, right? So likewise, so even though developers are thinking that we have new stories, new ideas, new innovations, what operations are thinking is operations perspective. What their job, they want to ensure their application, the system is up and running. When customer comes in, it's up and running, and it's reliable. So it's performing the purpose the customer is expecting. And when it's fault tolerance, right? The capacity issues. So example, if there's a spike of request, it's able to handle. If there's a DDoS attack, it's able to handle, right? So it's fault tolerance, right? So how to achieve fault tolerance, scalability, availability is do nothing, right? I told you, right? Just like my mother asked me not to touch the working TV operations thing. You give us a stable product. We will go through 100 iterations. Once iteration, I'm asking you, don't do any change. Let's keep it there, right? If there's no change, if it is keeping there, it's there's a major chance that nothing will happen for a long time, right? It will be, and if you ask me, like what are the softwares are really stable now this day, right? I will tell you mainframe, some softwares done in COBOL and all using mainframes, which is still there, and especially in a lot of big companies are very stable, like they don't go down often, right? They will not have issue. They are very stable, right? Because over the years there's nothing has happened. But the problem is if they go down, I don't know, right? No one able to bring it up, right? They will die, right? But still they are very stable, right? So as long as you are not touching something, as long as you are not changing something, things are stable, right? So that is the whole challenge, right? So the operations wants to keep it a very stable environment, low volatile, nothing new. And these guys want to do new thing every day, day in, day out, right? So an example, if they have a person like me who like to have kind of a Java Swing application, web application, mobile application, iPad application. So it's all look at things from a learning perspective, right? We will go and experiment on behalf of our client. We will use the latest technology. We will use the latest cloud provider. Like we will put the latest thing. We will go with microservice, right? And every day is something new innovation I will justify, and these guys will have a hard time, right? Because how much I come up with good processes, good technology, everything, I will have challenge managing my fault tolerance. I'll have challenge doing scalable, and I'll have challenge in my availability, right? So this is where people thought that this world has to go out, and dev and operations has to work together. So that is basically what we call, and this is again using the same DevOps tool, ops tools, and come up with a synergy. So this is what we call DevOps, right? So people are more of like there's no wall, so they all working with the same goal, same vision and mission. So the first time when I heard DevOps long time back, I thought that DevOps, okay, so we have developers, we have the operations people, and actually everyone is saying me there's a wall, like we are going to take the wall, and I asked මොන wall the තාපයක් තිබ්බේ නෑනේ අපේ අස්සේ, developers are there sitting next to me, I am here, මේ wall there's. So basically this is a virtual wall. And the second one is DevOps is not that developers doing development, operations are doing operations, right? So we want developers to do a little bit of operations, and operations to do some degree of development as well, right? So it's a synergy. It's not that okay, I'm developer, I'm not going to touch operations, or I'm operations guy, I'm not going to do development. But we want some people to do bridge this gap, right? So that is one way to look at DevOps, right? There are a lot of meanings to develop DevOps, and there are a lot of definitions to DevOps. So this is one, right? So as I said, there are no right or wrong answers. So here we can think there are people who do software engineering, there are people who do quality assurance, there are people who do technology operations. Probably DevOps is this, right? So what this means is pretty much DevOps is a highly skilled place, right? So if you want, so just like that, right? I told you, so if you want to be a normal doctor, you do your MBBS, you are fine, right? You are a doctor, right? Probably you are family physician, you go and give medicine to flu and sore throat and body pain and everything, you are done, right? But if you want to do a cardiologist, or you want to be a psychiatric, you want to be a surgeon, you want to be a pediatrician, you want to be a gynecologist, right? You have to be a SME expert in that particular small field, and then it's in all little more challenges, right? It's a little more challenging. It's I mean, every doctor can't be a consultant on something, right? They have to learn, they have to spend time, they have to do that, follow that process. Just like that, DevOps is hard, right? So it's again very hard, and it involves you have to have a lot of ability to learn a lot of new stuff. And then again, it's involved like being open to chaos, right? Because the sometimes the chaos experienced by DevOps people are higher than the people from development or quality assurance or other technology field, right? So this is again a little bit of hard thing, but it's again nothing rocket science, right? Everything is things you and I or anyone can learn very quickly, but it's a mindset change, right? So again, when I said DevOps, so if you are able to see this, so again, this you are planning, right? So we plan, right? So then we do kind of like so here, okay. So that we have this. So when it comes to developers, it's more of like you plan, right? You build, right? And you develop, right? So that is their key aspect, right? When it comes to operation, it's more of like integration. You integrate your application, you deploy, you operate, right? And then we'll have to, as I said, like Nokia example, you have to continuously improve, right? Otherwise you will be left behind, right? So each area has a lot of tools, right? There's something called the DevOps periodic table, where just like our chemistry periodic table, it is a periodic table with so many tools, right? So there's not a single way. So if you want to plan, there are so many things, right? You can plan with Jira, you can plan with Excel, you can plan with so many ways you can create your plans, right? So if you want to do integrations, you can use Jenkins, you can use Ansible, you can use so many things, right? If you want to deploy, you can either deploy it using a cloud, different type of clouds, or you can use Puppet, you can use Chef, you can use Ansible. So there's nothing like there's no one, right? There's no right or wrong tool, right? So it's again depend on your context. And sometimes I would have kick off a project, and we will go with a particular cloud service provider just because that is our skill, right? So that's the that's the I'm because if I'm a AWS guy, I will do AWS, right? But if customer don't need AWS, probably I would say, okay, let's find a new team and do it, right? But I'm not the right person. Or maybe I'm in the mood, I will learn Azure and do it in Azure cloud, right? So there are the whole idea is that there are so many tools, so many things. So and whole idea is that if you ask me, do I know all of these tools? No, right? So I don't know all of these tools, but I know that how to use them. I know how we are going to use them. And idea is that for particular requirement, we have to identify the correct tools, and then build on top of that, right? So we now this particular training, this several weeks, this will take a lot of time. We are not going to teach you each and everything, right? So whole idea is that we will try to tell you the fundamental things, how this is being used, right? Example, if it is a version control thing, we will tell you that how Git is using, or something else is working. What are the fundamental things, right? Either Git or any other version control will use, how to use it. Maybe we will take one software and do our POC accordingly. So when we are doing a POC, we'll try to use each and everything and try to build something so that people get understanding of everything, right? And workable knowledge. And the whole idea is to make it very simple, so simple POC, right? We don't want to go and just because there are the world is large, we don't want to go and try to click all the boxes, right? So we want to click the bare minimum boxes so that we are ready, right? So then after that, we kind of have a idea of getting through this, right? So it's about like facing different requirements, facing different clients, changing the solution based on different clients, and then come up with your story, like I mean like the come up with the way of how we want to work, right? So DevOps in nutshell is it's a culture change, right? So you have to get your heart, mind, and you have to embrace this change, right? So that's one. So people, I have never seen any client or any organization implementing DevOps thinking that it's a technology, right? It's a culture thing, right? People has to embrace that new culture. So it's a new culture thing, right? So that's something you'll have to remember, right? It's a mindset change. Next one is DevOps is powered by so many tools, right? So it's automation, right? So we don't want someone in the seat and manually doing things, right? So DevOps is fully about 100% automation and getting ourselves out of this equation, right? So the automation is the key thing, right? So it's about either it's your when you code, you don't want to kind of like identify bugs in your code manually, right? Maybe you use a tool, right? When you code, you don't want to do the documentation for that code, right? You want some tool, once you click, it will come and do some decent change documentation, and you will go and change a couple of things, right? When you are coding, if there are anti-patterns in your code, right, and you don't want your someone else to show me, can you look at my code and check I had done, or can you look at my design, you want the tool to do that, identify your anti-pattern and let you know, right? When you are using code, if there are security vulnerabilities in the code you have written, we don't want you to figure it out or someone else, right? We want a tool to do some intelligent work, right? Right. So all about it. So the development ID, right? The integrated development environment, we want that has to have a certain intelligence, right? So that will add value, right? So when we are coding, my delivery manager knows my like how many, whether my code is correct. I'm hitting any anti-patterns, right? I'm hitting any vulnerabilities, right? And am I making technical debt? Right? Technical debt is nothing but I can create a code which will work, but it will take more investment to come and correct it if there are bugs, right? So whole idea is that, right, first if you do a deployment, that is less cost, but if you identify a bug in your code in production, that will take a fortune to fix, right? Because it's a rework, right? So rework is money, right? So that whole idea is that a part of your ID, you will have a lot of this tool. When you are building, I can remember that the first time I built a call, it was like around 20 word pages, Microsoft like word pages, right? I have to go through the word each and every time, like okay, I get this code, put it here. So we will use and, so I had to run this and command. There are so many and commands, and copy paste it and run. And if there are errors happen, I have to go back and again. So it took me half a day or one day to build a code, right? First time when we usually get into a project, they put the newcomers to the release team, right? So we are, because that is the place where you will learn, right? So when developers checking in, you take the code and you have to build it and put it into the development environment. And also once you learn, because other, if you don't know how to build it, you can't be a developer and build your own laptop instance, right? Your local instance, right? Have to know build. So it took me half a day to build the first one, right? And even after 6 months, I am kind of like good at building it. Couple of hours is still, right? So nowadays, building is very automated, right? Couple of button click, the code is download from your check the version control thing. It will automatically run to all your configuration changes, and it will build. It will go and deploy it into a one environment, and on top of that, we can do automated testing as well, right? So the amount of manual intervention is very less, and so idea is that we don't want people to do a lot of work. right? So we want to do the automation to do the work, right? So that way we can save money. And the other most important thing is we will not make mistakes, right? And other thing is, assume I am a QA person, I have to test this new code, right? Assume that, if I want to execute all my test cases, it will take a week, right? So now probably you can say, let's put 5 people and we will do it in one day, right? So now every time there's a new code, we have to use 5 people to test the code daily, right? And that is money, right? So instead of what if, whatever these 5 people are doing, I automate it, I create a parallel executing test suite. So I ask developers, you code, right? Before you go sharp 5:36 in the afternoon, you check in, right? And then ensure that you do a kind of a quick sentence, build is working fine. So we will automate the build. 7 o'clock build is up and running. I will run my the QA test suite after 7. So the next morning when 9 a.m. people comes in and start working, they will get an email saying, whether build has worked fine, what bugs they have introduced, right? By name, who is the person who has checked in and who has, break the bill, right? So when we were coding, when I started my career, one thing I was really scared is breaking the bill, right? Probably like, 30, 40 people are coding, and on evening we all checking in. And morning when we come in, I don't want, like, someone comes and say, Indika, good job, so you broke the bill today, right? Now it's not working, right? Probably you will have to revert your changes and we do. So yeah, I don't, so entire visibility comes to me, right? It's a like, I broke the code, right? Like, so you don't have to be that person, right? So then people will be little careful, but the whole idea is that I'm saving, right? So now I'm not, next day someone come and test it and I identify that, build is broken, but now very advanced that, we understand, right? So automation, right? So next one is lean, right? We want to do it, if there are excessive processors, if we are doing it some in a expensive way, we have to break it. And then metrics, right? So DevOps is all about metrics and sharing, right? So these are very high level things, we will not go into deep. Some things you will remember, some things you will forget. What I want you is to get this understanding, right? So there are a couple of DevOps so there are continuous integration, DORA matrix, so we will cover in later. So today's session, what I want to tell you is that the software development is one part of the story. So we are focused on creating a product which will make money to our end users. Creating money is the important thing. If we have to do that, then we have to ensure that not only we develop, that has to operate fine as well. Develop and operations are two different ball games, because developers want to do a lot of development, where operations want to keep the system less volatile, not to touch it, not to break it, right? So that will not go on. So then we have to have a way to synergize this. How we are synergizing is, it's a cultural shift. We both understand that, we are not two different teams, but we are one team giving value to our customer. We understand manually doing things is a waste, so we want to automate. We understand that there can be a lot of lean things, that, there are ways of working we can improve and optimize. We understand that we had to measure equally, right? It can't be that, developers being measured from some metric, and then there are different metric applied to uh, the operations team, right? So they all have to be measured from a one goal. If the application is up and running, right? So application is up and running, can be application down can be due to operations have not brought up the service, or there's an operations issue, right? Or it can be a code bug, right? Everyone is equally responsible, and operations both have to come together to fix it, right? So it's all about how we've been measured, and we are sharing, right? So this is in nutshell. um, so with this, I'd like to close this session. So one quick question, right? What I want to today is get to know, are we going fast? Is it make sense to you, right? Is this language understandable, right? Or do you need to slow it down a little bit, or can we do it in little different way, right? So any suggestions before we wind up for day?
I think it might be better if someone really give their idea about this session, because this feedback really matters in order to conduct more and more sessions just like this. So as Mr. Indigo said, if there are any questions and if there are any issues with this program, how it's been going so far, your feedback is really valuable to us. So if you can someone really give you an idea?
Anyone, any suggestions? So usually, like, in what we think is that if nobody is talking, either it's that you all understood everything, so it's all good, or you didn't understood anything and it's really bad, right? So any comments, like, so this we will be doing quite a few this kind of sessions, like parallel to the hands-on work we're going to do. So any comments, like the speed and probably any suggestions or anything? Okay, I don't think anyone is there, so we'll probably close the call. So we would encourage everyone to talk, right? So one thing, like, you guys should realize is that unless you talk, you will not improve. And the communication is one of the key important things, right? You can be a super developer or a DevOps person or a delivery person, anything, but if you can't communicate, if you can't talk, like, it's not English, right? It's not language, but you have to express your, like, self, right? It can be, you can talk in Sinhala, or you can you can you go with any. I'm not saying that you guys are not fluent or anything, but I'm saying expressing ourselves is very important, right? You can even, I think there's a chat as well, right? We can some anyone, if you have question going forward, you can put it to chat as well. Okay, someone has put other options. Okay, one quick question. No, I think it's okay, man. Thank you very much. However, I would like to know what are the options we have as a comparison language other than web development. Okay, okay. So one key thing is that so in usually in almost all the places, we go with the first name basis. So you can always call me Indika and Kapila, Mohan, and all. So we are not going with anything, right? So you can, let's stick to that. Second one is that, so if you have real, if you like example, like the question someone asking is, what are the opportunities for undergraduates, right? So there are, if you have seen is, it's not software development, right? It's software development. It's the sales. It's about solutionizing. It's about operations. Every step of the way is like area for someone to learn and grow, right? So there are, so example, like so this is a vast field, right? So just like you have the doctors with physician who knows the entire body. This is like the entire body, right? You can be eye specialist, or you can be some surgeon, or you can be a something. So there are so many opportunities, right? So DevOps and software development and everything, there are quality assurance and everything. It's evolving, right? So things are evolving very fast, but the opportunities are there, right? Yeah. So one of our challenges, we will try to touch upon some of these areas where you can think of, areas where we think that maybe probably you can spend a little bit of time up. But the whole idea is that at this moment, I think you don't have to really worry too much, just focus on, get a big picture, get a kind of idea, get your hands dirty with some of these, tools and softwares. And that's enough, I think. Right. Okay, so I would really like, someone can, take a minute and, give kind of a voiceover as well, if possible. Otherwise, we'll close this session. So thank you very much, right? So it's encouraging audience, but we would like, in future to have more collaboration and make it more interesting. So hope that you get at least a few ideas, how things are happening, and like help us to ensure that we can be more value add to you guys.